Hi, this is Penny from Holistic Liberty, and I know that I haven't really uploaded anything or taken any time to really do some editing on some videos, and believe me, I've been camping several times, and I have made videos I just hadn't taken time to edit. And videos of me walking at camp. And when I do get around to editing videos and creating more, you're going to see that I'm now using a wheelchair. Not all the time, but I'm at what's called an ambulatory wheelchair user. Because the last camping trip that I went on with my boyfriend and my son for field day, I overdid it, and then I was in bed for 2 days, and then I got to where I could barely do anything without feeling pain, and Bill talked me into getting a wheelchair, and I've been trying to tell my doctor that I feel pain every day. I've been feeling pain for decades and kind of keeping it to myself. And when you would see me go for those walks, you know, I had a walk it off attitude, and I don't know if it was adrenaline or whatever, but it's getting worse. And since then, we've discovered that I have something called plantar fibroma, which is like lumps in the bottom of your feet, and some people call it the Viking disease. They also get it on their hands, but it's under a different name. My father had that. And people usually from the Northern European heritage get them. And out of the people who get it, only 25% are women. And out of the people who get it, only 25% get it on both feet. And I have it on both feet, and they've got me using this expensive cream for my feet that insurance doesn't cover. And hopefully it works. And also discovered that I have tendonitis in the knees, and probably my elbows as well, but we didn't have that checked, just my knees. And when the orthopedic doctor put shots in my knees, I felt it go up my spine and into my head and made me high, and I don't like the high feeling. He was like, well, that's unusual. And it didn't help my knees. In fact, they got worse, and so he said there's nothing he could do. But he sent me to a rheumatologist. He tested me first and said, oh, you got fibromyalgia. And he sent me to a rheumatologist who says, yeah, it seems like you got fibromyalgia. We're going to run a few more tests too, just to make sure. So apparently, on top of osteoarthritis, which apparently is going all through my body, which I already knew about the osteoarthritis, I'm not surprised that it spread. I also have plantar fibroma, tendonitis in my knees, and fibromyalgia. And everything is painful. And when I started paying closer attention to the pain, I realized, I've been feeling this pain for decades, literally decades. And it's getting worse, and I've always just kind of ignored it. But I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I am accepting that I have a disability. And you can say, well, you're a holistic person, you can do healing, and I believe that you are correct. Also, my mother's dementia is getting worse. I did a video not too long ago, where I'm crying. She's feeling a little bit better, but still, every time she falls, she never quite gets back to normal. Ow, that hurt my legs. I crossed my legs and that hurt. Anyways, so why aren't I doing the holistic things? I say holistic, body, mind, and spirit, blah, 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 blah. And the best way I can describe that is I'm going through what is known as the dark night of the soul. I was writing in my journal this morning, and I'm like, this is familiar. I have felt this before. It's very uncomfortable, but I know I have to go through it. And I went through it when my husband passed away, but I went through that plus grief. And a lot of times losing a loved one or breaking up with someone will trigger it. Now, there are some differences from before, because no matter how much suffering I'm doing under this, I know this time, I know I'll make it through. And it's something that I'm actually grateful for, because it's letting me know what's going on hidden inside of me, that even when I'm doing all the positive things, that actually keeps me from success, keeps me from where I want to be or whatever. And I had prayed a month or so ago that I need to find out what my obstacles are. And I think when you're going through the dark night of the soul, you kind of reevaluate everything, and you just reevaluate what you believe, you reevaluate yourself, you reevaluate pretty much everything. It can lead to a severe depression, and many people lead them to suicide if they don't understand it. And I'm not there. I feel down, I cry, but I have a better understanding of what's going on with me than I did years ago when I went through this kind of stuff. And I use this as an opportunity to look inside and see the thoughts and the healing that I need. Because, you know, when we always want to do all that positive, feel good, but you can't sweep that negative under the rug. It's still there, even if you're truly happy and if you feel true joy, in which I have felt before. And I'm grateful for that, because before that I didn't know what joy was about. And there were times when I went through this that it would bring me down, because I'd feel like, why do I got to go through this and blah, blah, blah. But now, as hard as it is, I'm glad I'm going through it, because it gives me the opportunity to really look within areas that, when I am joyful and when I'm in my better days and when, life is great and blah, 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 I don't see. I'm such a net positive, blah, 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 that I don't see these things, and they're always hidden in the shadows. And so now I have to look into this. And I remember when my husband died and I was going through this along with grief, so, and that, it's 10 years ago. And there were some things I could tell that kind of was matching up to 10 years ago, but there were differences, like before he died, and I had this feeling, and I was trying to turn around what was going to happen. And when I would say all the positive stuff, it was with the fear that it was going to happen. And I don't feel that anymore. I have fear and I'm terrified. I'm not going to say I'm not. There are a lot of things I'm terrified of right now. But I'm not trying to turn that around by thinking all the positive stuff, because basically you're doing that out of fear. And so instead of addressing it, instead of dealing with it, you're trying to ignore it, and then you give it more energy that way, and then whatever happened, and I can feel anger at the world and anger at the universe. And just yesterday I was crying and saying, I think the universe hates me. It's not saying that it does, it's just expressing, when I'm in the dark night of the soul, how it feels, the hidden things that you don't pay attention to when you're feeling good about the world. And it's not that they're not there. It means that there is healing that still needs to be done, that I tend to ignore when everything feels great. And so this is the time to heal. And so I'm allowing myself to think these thoughts. I'm allowing myself to feel what I feel without judgment, and remembering that this day too will pass, so I don't go to the point of no return. I know that I have to go through this. I have to suffer through this in order to heal. And it's not easy going through watching my mom, where it comes to the dementia and the terror and I feel in other areas that I'm not ready to share with you. I'm just sharing with you about going through the dark night of the soul, because I found even when I was writing in my journal this morning, I was like, this is familiar. And I'm like, oh, I know what this is. And so I'm not ready to heal yet. It actually is a form of healing, because a lot of times I feel like I've taken 2 steps forward and then 5 steps backwards. And that is because I went forward without healing. And so I had to go backwards to what needs to be healed. So I'm going forward in a sense of going backwards to what needs to be healed. And so it is a form of healing, but I have to suffer this. And what I'm going through physically, I'm not ready for the physical healing yet, but I'm learning to love my body, even in a wheelchair, even using a cane, even using a walker, even when I'm in pain. I'm learning to love my body and accept it just the way it is. And I guess I have to learn that in other areas of my life. Like one of the things I complained about is my financial. And maybe I just have to accept that just the way it is, and just accept me even when I'm broken. Just love and accept myself. Maybe. But I'm going through the dark night of the soul, and hopefully sometime I get some time to take some of the videos I've made and edit them and stuff, and you may see me walking, and don't be surprised, But I've gotten to where I can't be on my feet that long without hurting. And it may be that way for the rest of my life. I may get worse, or I may get better. But right now it's just about accepting that and loving me anyway. But I wanted to share this with you. Especially for those who may be going through this all and maybe needed to hear someone else going through it. You're not alone. You'll make it through if you choose to. If you choose to remember, this day too will pass. And this can be used to help you heal. Just as you go through it, just go through it without judgment. Allow yourself to feel without judgment. And love yourself anyway. Thank you.